The classics. When we talk about sprint car racing, we talk about some classic moments. The Knoxville National brings out classics all the time.
Oh, yeah.
It seems like every week, the Knoxville Nationals, we have a classic. Or every year, that is. Every week, okay? Bristol. 20 years ago, the World of Outlaws were at Bristol, and Erin, that became an instant classic, and we've pined for that ever since.
Yes, we've talked about it. We've watched video, wanted to drive there, but to have them go back there, and with the speeds and the technology that has changed in 20 years, I am very excited to see what's going to happen.
It is going to be cool. She is Erin Evernham. I am Steve Post, and this is Wing Nation, the podcast presented by Dryden, by DRF Racing Oils. We are in the Hercules Tires studio, and who better to talk about the Channel Lock Challenge, both of them, than the Channel Lock driver at the time that won it, Sammy Swindell. We're going to talk to Sammy today here on the podcast.
I'm excited. I mean, anytime you get a chance to talk to Sammy Swindell, and especially I feel like in recent years he's come on here and he's just been much more, open. You know Sammy at the racetrack.
Yeah, absolutely, yes.
Game face.
Yeah, I had my opening moments with Sammy was when Kevin was doing the Xfinity thing.
Yep.
And Sammy was traveling with Kevin. And there were times when he was helping the team, but then there was other times where he was just dad. Yeah. And those times when he was just dad.
It's like a different person.
Yeah, we sat on the back of the hauler one time. We talked for 45 minutes down at Homestead. And it was like, wait a minute, what's going on here? And it was, and when I say talk, I mean just good. He's Sammy.
Exactly.
Yeah. And we've had fun with him on our live shows too. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
He comes on the live shows, and every once in a while,
throws a little zinger out there.
Every once in a while, it's like who had in the bingo? Who had Sammy Swindell stealing the show?
Yeah,
great guy.
Well, I mean, there's always those interviews that you see the videos of too.
Well, there's that.
Even at Bristol, I watched that Lasowski one the other day.
Yeah, that's right, exactly. Yeah, a little controversy, and then Sammy at the end of the race there, he had his great battle. The second race with Shepard, and he's out there fanning the crowd. It's great stuff. The emotion out of Sammy. And the biggest thing with Sammy, Erin, and I know you respect this maybe more than anybody on the planet, the knowledge of Sammy. I mean,
knowledge of every part of that car, and
it's unreal.
The motor, everything.
Real. I mean, so that's what we're doing here today. We're going to talk to Sammy Swindell. We'll talk a little Bristol, but we'll talk life and everything else. Looking forward to it, that is for sure. And looking forward to an upcoming big weekend of racing. It was spectacular last weekend. All kinds of great finishes, including this one. At the fabulous Lincoln Speedway, it was the Weldon Sterner Memorial. Freddie Raymer, Chase Dietz, and Tim Schaefer won for the ages. A thriller. On the last lap, if you will, here's Wayne Harper with the call on Flow Racing.
And now for the Dryden death-defying move of the week, where one driver simply amazes us with their on-track moves.
White flag waves last time around. 3 wide for the race lead. And Raymer grabs the top spot. Dietz is going to follow him by. They'll race for the lead. Dietz tries to catch the 51, but Freddie Raymer wins.
That death-defying move was brought to you by Dryden Diesel All Death, the official death of the World of Outlaws and wheelmen everywhere. Visit Dryden.com for more information.
For decades, Dryden Lubricants has been made in America and made to last, paving the way on our highways, in our fields, and on the production line. Today, Dryden offers a complete line of engine oils, greases, hydraulic and transmission fluids, and diesel exhaust fluid. If you want greater performance and protection for your critical engines and equipment, go to Dryden.com. Dryden, American-owned and operated, and a proud supporter of racing and race fans everywhere. Citywide to countryside, whatever you drive, wherever you go, Hercules has the value, selection, and industry-leading warranty to get you there no matter where the road takes you. Go to HerculesTires.com. There you can find the nearest authorized Hercules retail location to you. Plus, you can use the tire tracker to find out which Hercules tire fits your vehicle the best. That's HerculesTires.com. Hercules Tires, ride on our strength. Wing Nation, presented by Dry Dean, by DRF Racing Oils, rolling along from the Hercules Tire Studios in Concord, North Carolina. Well, let's get right to it. Let's go to the Sage Fruit Hotline. Joining us is the Hall of Famer, the legend, Sammy Swindell. Hello, Sammy. Welcome back to Wing Nation.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Always great to catch up with you. It really is. Sammy, when all the talk this week is Bristol and sprint car racing, we understand that. But when you reflect back on the pair of races there, the Channel Lock Challenge, your team, your car, your wins, what are kind of some of the things that you think about when you think about that time period and racing at Bristol?
No, it was just a good time, for me because, I had Channel Lock with me and that they were with me for like 7 years, and it was my own team. It's the first time I'd done that. So just a lot of positives there. And then going to Bristol and having Channel Lock sponsor the whole event and being able to win, both of them was just a cherry on top there.
Sammy, when you think about the dirt track at Bristol, how can you help us compare it, or what was it like as a driver compared to, some of the bigger tracks you go to might be Knoxville, Port Royal, I don't know, Oskaloosa, whatever it might be. What does Bristol feel like?
Well, I mean, to me, because I'm a little older and can go back a little further, it's closer to I-70. It's bigger than I-70, but it's similar, the way it's laid out in the banking and it's on pavement. So that would be the closest track other than the size, but, the speeds we get at Bristol are close to they're like the same speeds that when I run the mile tracks. So it doesn't really relate to a lot of the other places because there's just so much more speed there.
Am I right that a trooper clocked you at 185 miles per hour, and you think there were other times when you were faster than that?
Well, I don't know. It's hard to say when you're going that fast if you went 2 or 3 miles an hour faster, or slower. But there could have been at times because I think we ran further up the track later, so there might have been a chance to, make the straightaways a bit longer and bring the speed up a little bit. But yeah, he was there when we went in for the first practice day and said something to me. I guess, he knew who I was, so he was there when I came out and said, "You're the fastest." And I said, "Well, that's cool." And he told me what the speed was, and so it was like I was a little surprised.
Sammy, what does the speed in an open wheel car, like a sprint car, feel like at those speeds? For those of us who never got to run Syracuse or those tracks, that's a pretty significant difference from some of the bigger tracks now. I know Paul McMahon spoke to us a little bit about the head buffering around, but how, does that feel any different?
Well, I mean, I learned some tricks there early on to about some things on the front of the car that we could do and where the front wing was placed and stuff like that. And it took care of all that buffeting. And, once you get rid of that, then it really seems the same other than the speeds there. But, it's never been something that really I think about. I'm just trying to go as fast as I can. And it, like a lot of guys say, well, they, maybe they're a little bit nervous or they're a little bit scared of the speed or not used to it or whatever. But, I knew we were going fast, but I didn't let it bother me. It was my job to just, run as hard as I could.
The second race there, you had an incredible battle with Jeff Shepard. And you and Jeff, actually, it's funny, you and Jeff had actually spent the day riding motorcycles, and then you go out and race nose to nose, and you end up beating him. In Jeff's post-race interview, he talked a lot about drafting and the wind and the feeling the car. And I think we have that in wing sprint cars all along. We have it now. But how much was a factor, or did you have to put that into your race moves out there?
Well, that's what it was. I mean, and Jeff, his car was working good, and he was running some good laps, and I kept passing him on one end, I think 3 or 4 times, whatever it was, and then and he would always get me back on the other end, and what I wound up after that third or fourth time was like, well, I just need to wait and pass him on the other end and see what he can do, so because it wasn't as good on the end I was past him, and it felt like it was better on the other was the reason he was able to get back by me. And so when I switched that up, I took the lead for good and got away and where he didn't have the draft. But I mean, there's places that they race now that where you can do that, and that I've learned some things from that over the years, and all the other different types of cars that I got to drive, and you can really pick up on somebody, but you just got to have your timing right. You got to be in the right position and not get too close or not be there at the wrong time. And when you're running there, it's more like a lot of the mile tracks is that we would run. You'd have to run the bottom. So when you get to lap traffic, if you ran right up on somebody, usually those guys that weren't running as quick had lower gears, so they could like pull you off the corner, and then you'd have to try to get back. But I mean, even at Bristol like that, what I would do is stay back a bit so I could carry my corner speed, and where I'd catch them just right off the corner, and never really slowed my corner speed down, and was able to do the draft and go right by. So it's just a lot of things that you learn over the years, and unfortunately, there's a lot of these young guys that never got to run the mile tracks, or they've never been to Bristol, so it's going to be a different animal for them.
Wow, that's fascinating. Sammy, you mentioned doing some different things with the nose wing to help the buffering of your head. What are other things, like, I know when you used to go to Syracuse and see your sprint cars, they were wild. They look totally different than when you would run just a normal, or some of the cars, what I shouldn't say everyone did, but people made modifications for the aerodynamics. But looking at the guys going back there this weekend, what do you think some of the things they may have, are you aware of things that they have worked on? I know Brad Sweet mentioned using the sturdiest parts they have, with those speeds, but are you aware of other things that they have worked on?
Yeah, I don't know right now. I mean, we didn't do a lot when we ran there, but I did pick up on some things, on the practice night that made the car feel a lot more stable and more comfortable to move around on the track and be around other cars. So it's all that. Just it's like the same. If you go to a quarter mile, you got to make big changes, big swings at things, to get a decent change in the car. When you get to the bigger tracks, it's just like you're just doing little things, unless you're just way off to begin with. But I always enjoyed that because the more the aerodynamics played into it, the motor played into it, making the car real stable and more it drove nice and straight and easy. Just all those little things you can do just to make sure you got the best stuff on there. I mean, when we came there, we had a lot of new parts and a lot of I think we may have even had a brand new car there, but it's just making sure that everything's ready to run those speeds.
Sammy, this event was an iconic part of sprint car racing when they ran at Bristol, so much so that 20 years later we're going to do it, and everyone's like, finally, because they've been asking about it. I bet you, do you know how many times you've been asked about the Bristol? I can't even imagine how many times you've been asked about the Bristol race because it was such a big part of sprint car racing. It had to be one of the most popular things you get asked about, I would guess.
Yeah, that's right up there. Probably one of the most, and that. And then when I went to Peely there a few weeks ago, I had a lot of crew chiefs ask me for did I have a good setup for there. So, but it's it's definitely rates up there because of that era when the live TV was there and just a lot of things that we did to make it a bigger show.
Sammy, as fast as you guys were there 20 years ago, and as much as technology has changed and shocks have improved and tires have improved, maybe motors, you name it, do you expect to see even greater speeds? Do you think it'll be similar? What are your expectations?
Well, I mean, it can depend on a lot. I mean, first off, is the track, is the surface going to have the grip that it had when we were there before? Is it going to have more grip, or is it going to have less? The motors definitely are probably 100 horse better, but the wings are a little different. The tires are different, and the weight's a little different. So, just like when they ran at Kokomo and Hopstadt that weekend, I happened to have the track record at both places, and from way back, and they didn't beat it then. So, for me, I'm hoping they don't, but they can go as fast as they want to.
How are you going to be? Are you going to be watching Dirt Vision? Are you going to be fishing? Or are you going to go over there? How are you going to be following along this weekend, or are you busy with other stuff?
Well, the World Racing Group asked me to be the Grand Marshal. I mean, I was trying to get a ride there, and I kind of thought I had something that was going to work out up until, about 2 or 3 weeks before the race. But so I'm going to play that part. So I don't know what it's going to be, but that's who I am.
Nice.
Have
you been a Grand Marshal before?
Yeah, they actually had me do that at a Silver Crown race when they ran at Memphis once, and I got to, wave the green flag and stuff. So got to be the flagman for a little bit. So that was something I've never done before. So we'll just see what they have in store for me.
Sammy, what are your thoughts on it? There's been a certain driver or a few that have kind of stirred up social media about the safety of the sprint cars going back to Bristol. What are your thoughts? I know you were pretty clear on your thoughts about Lasowski that night when you had a little altercation with him there. But, as a driver, especially with all the success you've had, what are your thoughts when you see drivers complain about, speeds and things like that?
Well, I mean, you can look at it two ways. I mean, they're drivers, so if they're concerned about things, they need to voice their opinion, but at the same time, don't leave it till a month before the race, or, you can look at it from both sides, and, you should come there with the parts that you think are going to be the best, and to run that. I mean, I wouldn't say it's a lot more demanding, but it is a little bit, than when we ran on a mile track, other than the corners being banked, and it just depends. If the track's smooth, it won't be as hard. If it's got a bunch of holes or it's really rough, it's going to be harder on stuff. But that's the same thing you find in any of the tracks. So, it's an invitational race. So if you don't want to go, you don't have to.
Yeah, and I think that was I think that was a wise move, though, to make an invitational race, because there are some teams that are equipped to have better equipment, and there are other teams that probably are not. So I kind of like that. I kind of like that aspect of it as well.
Yeah. Well, that's probably a part of it. They should maybe look at doing it in more places, probably. But or all the races, just to make sure that the cars that are competing are capable of running with the series. So, in the cars, I mean, I've drove a lot of things, and the sprint cars are definitely quicker than anything I've drove on the same type track or the same size track, or it's just things happen a lot faster in a 410 sprint car than I think probably anything. So, but it makes it a lot easier when you go to another class, or you go to a 360, or you go to run stock cars or stuff, because things seem to slow down. You're used to riding that missile, so you're thinking way ahead, and you're thinking really fast. And a lot of the other things I've drove, it's like you get used to thinking and reacting at that speed, and when you get in other things, it's so slowed down. It's like, okay, well, I know it's going to push a little bit, or it's going to get loose, and you're way ahead of it. So, so you can see where some of these guys that are getting chances now in good cars are doing a good job in other series. But sprint cars are still more fun than anything.
No doubt.
Ha, I would happen to agree with that. Sammy, you're going to be the Grand Marshal this weekend. You were at Peevely a few weekends ago. Are you a good spectator? Are you itching to be in the car? And I know you well enough to know that you're probably checking what everyone has on their cars and doing your research. But is it frustrating as much as you've driven to be there and not be in the race?
Yeah, there's definitely a certain percentage of that. I don't know exactly what that is, but it's like, you watch and you say, well, I would have done this, or I can be like the fans in the stands and say, well, why didn't he pass that guy, or why did he do that? So I get to see it from a little bit different side. Yeah, I'd like to be there. I think I could compete with them in equal equipment. That's just the problem where I'm at now is having a team that's, I just don't want to go there and really run. I've done a few things with a few cars, and I found it's not as much fun if you can't run up near the front, but yeah, I'd definitely like to be competing over there this weekend, but I understand the circumstances. It costs so much, and I'll just hopefully something comes along. I can get a few races in this year and have some good runs.
Do you have anything lined up as far as concrete plans for this year as far as races go?
Well, not concrete, but I do have a car. We're supposed to come run some. It'll probably be more like in June, July, or August or something. Somewhere in there, we're going to make some of the bigger races, or attempt to make some races before the bigger races at the same track. So, hopefully we'll turn up and we'll get in quite a few runs. But it's just tough to put a program together to run a really limited number of races. It'd be a lot easier if a bigger team, wanted to run another car for like R&D or something, or, for me to do that. But just, it's just, there's not that many rides available to run the amount of races that I want to run a year.
You mentioned the number of races you want to run a year, and I follow you on social media. I see you on a pontoon, a motorcycle. Life seems pretty good away from the racetrack. You seem to be enjoying some of those things. How has that been to not be on the road as much as you have over such a long period of time and get to spend some time with the family and on the lake?
Well, it's definitely different, and some of it's fun, some of it's a little boring, but as anything else, like driving up and down the road all the miles, that never was a treat. But yeah, actually, I'm sitting in a Chick-fil-A here at Marysville, Tennessee. I drove over the other day. I'm fixing to go tackle the tail of the dragon over here.
Very cool.
And on my motorcycle. So it's, I think it said it was 318 turns and 11 miles. So I got to drive out, go all the way down it, turn around and come back. And see what else I have time for the rest of the day.
What kind of motorcycle do you ride?
I've got a 2020 Road Glide right now, which I really love. It's of all the Harleys I've had, this one's definitely a good one.
Wow.
That's cool.
Now I see you have a pontoon. I would have more assumed you'd have like a speedboat, some giant motors on the back. We have a pontoon as well, and Ray always laughs like you'd think a racer would want this big giant motor, but it's nice to just have a pontoon and actually have to relax, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it's just the lake where we're at has restrictions, and you have to have a pontoon boat, and then you can only have a 15-horse motor. So, I got mine where to run about 12 mile an hour, so I think I'm one of the fastest ones out there.
Not surprised at all. Not surprised at all. Okay, so we've talked a little bit about the motorcycle. The fishing game. What's your fishing game now? What's your favorite thing to fish for? What's that look like?
Well, I mean, over the years there, I mean, a friend of mine, Les Stewart, he wound up going down to the Keys, and then he was renting a house, and he had houses, and I think he had a house down there for 8 or 9 years, and we'd go down there 2 or 3 times. Alamorada there in the Keys and go fishing out in the ocean, which I really enjoyed that, and we got to see a lot of different things and catch a lot of different things. But I actually went down to Key Largo there probably about a month ago and was down there for a few days. Went fishing with a friend of mine's got a place there, Terry Newbaum. So it's been fun. It's you get with different people and they do things a little bit different, and I'm still trying to learn how to catch the bass or catch a lot of them, but I get a few of them off the pontoon boat out there.
It's all about the competition. Sammy,
yeah.
When you look at everything that Kevin and his wife Jordan have done with the Swindell Speed Lab and their own team, how cool is that for you as a father to see how successful he has been over the last few years?
Yeah, well, I mean, he's worked pretty hard at it, and they've worked hard. They've made some good decisions and some been able to get involved with a lot of good people, and he doesn't have a business to support his sprint car, so that's why he only runs it when he has the means to do that. So but he's done a pretty good job with it. I mean, he leaned on me a lot there when he first started, but now he kind of handles it, most of it on his own, and so in his position and everything they've done, they've been pretty successful, and I'm proud of him and Jordan.
Yeah, as you should be. I've enjoyed, I think probably the last time I saw you was out at Millbridge. Kevin is out there as a driver coach and fielding cars. Gavin Boschell's one of his young talent, just signed with Keith Coons, as a matter of fact, Gavin did. But I've seen you out there just hanging out watching this micro sprints and these sort of things. That's got to be a neat perspective for you to see the next generation, your next generation, and the generation behind that with such passion, because as much as it's different, it's probably similar as far as the passion of going racing.
Yeah, it's different. I mean, but watching them, Kevin and Gavin, they're doing pretty well. When I was there, he was having one little issue with, like, he said, well, the chain tensioner's not quite right. And I said, well, there's adjustment with this change, you can change the angle. I mean, because we had one for a while and I went through a lot of changes on that to get it to where the car would roll like it should without getting in a bind. So, but there's just any of it, you got to figure it out and try to do the best with what you got. And Gavin, he's 12 years old. He does a really good job. I just hope they don't push him up too fast and just let him enjoy a little bit of this. So, but yeah, he impressed me the times I got to watch him. So, I think they're in a good place there right now.
So we've talked about you being at Millbridge helping out with Kevin, motorcycles, pontoons, Bristol, you name it. But in all seriousness, when you talk about balancing all of that, enjoying life, you mentioned a limited number of races that you would like to run. What is that number roughly? Is it 20? Is it 30? If you had a perfect situation.
I mean, if it was 20 or 30, I don't think I'd there a couple of years ago, it's like 50 would be as many as I wanted to run, and that was probably too many, or a lot. But if I could get 20 races in, I'd be happy.
Cool. Well, that sounds good. Well, hopefully that all works out. That's for sure. If you could pick a favorite track or a favorite place to go and do that at, when you look back, what are, if they could say, Sammy, we're not giving you 20, we're giving you 5, but we're going to give you 5 first class races. Which ones would you want? The big money ones, the big profile? What would you look at?
Yeah, I've never been shy of being thrown in with the toughest guys. So I'd like to run those top races, the bigger purses, and the ones with the best cars. So don't know if it'll happen, but maybe you never know.
You don't. That's for sure. Stay tuned. See if still winning. That's what we're looking for. Hashtag still winning. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Sammy, always a pleasure. I wish you the best with your motorcycle ride and then your Grand Marshal duties this weekend. It is always a thrill to chat with you and get your insight on all topics sprint car and everything else. Thanks for the time joining us here today.
You're welcome. I enjoyed it.
There we go. The legend, Sammy Swindell, here on Wing Nation. Over the years, Dryden has stood for uncompromised value and proven performance. Known as the hardest-working brand in heavy-duty lubrication, Dryden's heritage is made in America and made to last. Dryden products work to increase the life and enhance the efficiency of your equipment in the toughest conditions. Learn more about Dryden's products at Dryden.com. From grassroots racing to NASCAR, Dryden is a proud supporter of racing everywhere. For a year-round high-quality eating experience, look no further than Sage Fruit apples, pears, and cherries. Not only is their produce healthy, but they are grown with such care and precision that you can count on each piece of fruit having exceptional flavor. Sage Fruit, it's our first choice for quick and easy snacking. Imagine you're on a boat, you're on a lake, you have a pontoon boat, and the next thing you know, Sammy Swindell pulls up alongside of you. I mean, you probably don't know that Sammy Swindell, and then the next thing you know, you're drag racing at 12 miles an hour across the lake. I mean, isn't that awesome?
That is. And I love when we asked him about that, and he said, well, some of it's fun, some of it's boring.
I like driving down the road between races is no treat. We have got every sprint car driver, crew member, and everything in the world saying, you tell him, Sammy, you tell him.
You nailed it.
Just a legend. I mean, it's just unreal. It is, and I think that's where it's like when you have the chance to be in the presence via just talking on the phone or in person with just this bigger than life icon, and you find out that he's just a guy.
Yeah.
Just, he wants his Harley to, go through 850 turns in 11 miles or whatever it is, wants to catch the biggest fish.
Have the biggest,
exactly.
motor on the 15 mile an hour.
Accepts the fact that he's not driving a race car at Bristol this week, but not necessarily happy about it. You know, but to his credit, accepts the Grand Marshal invitation.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of people like, I'm not going near a racetrack.
Yeah.
If I can't have a ride, I'm not going. So I respect his respect for the sport to say, this didn't work out for me to have a ride, but I'm still going to support the event. I like that.
Yeah, I do too.
A lot of respect for Sammy.
I respect that a lot. And I just love that he thinks and he knows in his head that if he steps in the right car right now, at his age, he is confident that he can.
Do you think he couldn't?
I do, but I just love that.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at Steve Kinzer, other people in his age category
Sammy,
that have just said, I don't really, I got to walk away, or I don't want to do part-time.
That hypothetical question, okay, I've got $1 billion, and I want to go to 5 sprint car races with Sammy Swindell, and the thought that you could do that with 100% confidence that you could win those races, because I agree with you. I think I agree with Sammy. I think I could get the job done.
Absolutely. You're certainly going to have a good race.
You're certainly going to have a good race, that's for sure.
And the fact that he, in his age bracket, knows even if he runs 20 races that he's confident. Most people are like, well, I'm not going to be up to speed, or I'm going to miss out, or I've lost a little bit. Not Sammy.
And
I think that is so cool.
Awesome. So somebody go get $1 billion. Let's round them up. Let's get him at the Knoxville Nationals. Mm-hmm. Let's get him at the Kings Royal. Let's get him at the Jackson Nationals.
Yeah.
The Tuscarora 50 and the National Open. There you go.
Perfect. 5
races right there. $1 billion, even $1 million probably might cover it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Let's go. 5 races, Sammy Swindell, and then we'll have some real fun.
Oh, yeah.
Because you can't go on you want to get a conversation stirred up or trouble on social media, you don't even have to, you put Sammy Swindell. The next thing you know, you got to fight. You go on Hoseheads Forum, and right now you type in Sammy Swindell, and 3 posts down there's 2 guys arguing with each other.
Of course. But I do like that over time, more and more people respect what he has done and what he does.
Yeah, that 50th
it was
there was a time where it was.
There was a time where there was a lot of booze. I feel like people now, he's earned everyone's respect.
He has earned it for sure. All right. Well, World of Outlaws, NOS Energy Drink Sprint Cars, the Bristol Throwdown. They're joined by the beloved Super Dirt Car Series Modifieds. Tonight, Thursday night, if you're viewing this, listening to this, watching this on Thursday night, Dirt Vision has the open practice session. Ashley's going to be part of that broadcast. So it's going to be cool. And then Friday night, 10,000 to win. Saturday night, 25,000 to win. So I am so glad we talked to Sammy. If we didn't talk to Sammy this week, we were going to talk to Terry Gray, because USCS, their 25th anniversary, okay, April 25th, 1987, it was the first race for USCS. It was at the Talladega Short Track, and NASCAR was across the street. Guess who won? Terry Gray.
Terry Gray.
Yeah, Terry Gray did. Okay? They're returning Friday and Saturday night shows, okay? We've talked about Pete Walton preaching the sprint car gospel. He has just done a wonderful job here in the Southeast. This is the first time they've been back to Talladega on a NASCAR weekend.
Oh, wow.
So it is going to be big. I think we're going to sneak over there on Friday night. I'm not sure Saturday it works with the scheduling and everything. But it sounds like all hands are on deck with all the drivers. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. is going to race in it, it looks like, too. So I have so much respect for what Pete Walton has done. 25 years of sprint cars in the Southeast.
Yeah, not an easy task.
Not an easy
task.
Made it work. And he has made it work. And he's made it work so that, and I put a post, I did a LinkedIn story, I did a post, when you have, Pete's in the center of all of this, the preaching the sprint car gospel. Pete's in the center of all of this. On the smaller side of it, you have what's going on like at Millbridge and out at Rockfish out there near Fayetteville with the micro sprints. And then you throw in the Carolina Sprint Tour, who's doing just great things. You've got Pete in the middle of it with 360s. And now you look, the World of Outlaws, it got all washed out, but they had a Southeast tour, a Dirty South tour. All-Stars, we talked about this on Tuesday, All-Stars down at Virginia Motor Speedway. It's like, we're getting there. But Pete has done a nice job just here in the center of it, and going to celebrate 25 years at Talladega Short Track. The Hornet's Nest is what that place is called. ASCS National Tour, Friday night, US 36 in Osborne, Missouri. It's a combo with the Warrior region. On Saturday night, the National Tour is off, but the Sooner and Warrior region are racing at Lucas Oil Speedway in Wheatland, Missouri. That's going to be a big weekend there in Missouri. Other racing, Attica, how about this? Harley White.
Yes.
She is back. She's going to drive for Ed Newmeister in some races in Ohio.
I think that's a great pairing.
I love that. I really do. I think Harley flogged, and I think she did a lot of things right. But it's like, okay, we're just, let's turn the page.
Yep.
And it seems to me like she's turned the page. And Ed Newmeister, that's a great team. And so, and they're going to run this Friday. And then I think next Friday, I don't think they're going to, they're not going to jump in. Their first thing be Ohio Speed Week.
Yeah.
They're going to do a race here, get better, come back next week.
Yep.
And I like that a lot. So Jacksonville has MOA, Lernerville, Ohio Valley Speedway. It's the Ohio Valley Sprint Car Kickoff, Williams Grove. That's just Friday night. Yeah, folks, listen to this. Saturday, IRA bumper-to-bumper sprints are at Beaver Dam. Fremont has their season opener. Love that. Michaels Mercer Speedway, Port Royal, St. Francis County, and Wayne County. Sunday, the Ray Tilley Classic is at Selinsgrove. And I'm going to be curious to see how this goes. Tri-City Raceway Park in Franklin, Pennsylvania. That's out in the western part of the state.
Oh, yeah.
I've
run there.
You've raced there?
Oh, yeah. Show you a picture of me flipping out of the place.
Really? Out of the ballpark?
Yeah, came back and ran the feature. Actually ran pretty decent. That was my heat race, yeah.
They're doing a fair amount of Sunday night races.
Yeah, they used to way back when. Yeah, a lot of people, I think they'd run Mercer and then they'd go over there and run. So I'm glad that's starting to.
Yeah, I hope that. And so, folks, if you're in Western Pennsylvania, go to Franklin, PA, support those people, because a third night is tough. A Sunday is tough. And so I hope that works out well. And finally, our friends at the Marion County Fairgrounds this week in Knoxville. It is Farm Bureau Financial Services Night. Big 410, 360, and pro sprints. And that's going to be fun to see as now they get into the rhythm of the season.
Yes.
Which rhythm of the season is something we haven't seen since 2019. And so I know Kendra's excited and John McCoy and everyone's excited out there as well. So, man, I'll tell you what, just freaking awesome talking to Sammy, isn't it? Gosh, it's
an honor, honestly.
It is an honor. Yeah, it really is. Like when he would come on, I alluded this at the top of the show. He never said no to an invite to the stage show.
No.
When we would do the stage shows.
Yeah.
It was always, yes, what time do you need me there?
Awesome.
And it's just like, wait a minute. There are some guys that are like, well, maybe and that sort of thing. Okay, if Sammy can say, yes, what time do you need me there?
Yes.
Okay, then probably everyone else could come along.
Yeah,
and
yes,
yes,
exactly. Well, that's how I feel. Like there's people that I grew up watching and admiring, the Steve Kinzer, Sammy Swindell, Wolfgang, that, we interview a lot of drivers. I got to race with a lot of drivers, raced against Sammy and Steve, but those guys still there's a little level of me that's geeking out inside that I'm still talking to them and get to ask them questions.
And the fact that we're standing on the stage and here comes Sammy Swindell and the crowd going, wow.
I still get a little bit and it's funny.
Is this happening to me? Is this, how did I get,
how am I still a little nervous to interview this guy? I've known him for this long now, but I'm still admire him that much.
Oh my gosh, the Grand Marshal. And let's go, $1 million, somebody, let's go, those big five.
Yep.
What's the first one? Jackson's the first one. So we got a couple months here to round up the funds. Okay, let's go.
Yep.
We're going racing with Sammy. Yeah. And if you care to donate, the naming right, it could be the Wing Nation special. How about that? Celebrating our 10th anniversary. We don't have the $1 million. Trust me there.
Post.
Oh, well, no, but we don't have the $1 million. There's our only thing missing is the $1 million. But we can get you stickers for the car. Yes, indeed. Oh, man, now that we got this all planned out, there's only a million things keeping us from happening. Wing Nation apparel, the new 10th anniversary stuff is out.
I like it.
Woo, baby. Man, I saw some folks at Virginia Motor Speedway. They were loving on their 10th anniversary stuff. So it is good. You can find it at wingnation.com. That's www.wingnation.com. Our television program this weekend, speaking of people we love and respect, Greg Wilson joins Ashley and I on Wing Nation, presented by Sage Fruit. Thanks again to Sammy for joining us. But more important than all of that, thank you for joining us here on Wing Nation, presented by Dryden by DRF Racing Oils.